A year ago, Apple released the Apple Vision Pro, their first spatial computing headset, and for the first week, it really seemed like everyone excitedly went out to buy a $3,500 headset, until 2 weeks later when the content all dried up because everyone who bought one returned it. But you know what? I didn't. So here's what it's like using the Apple Vision Pro 1 year later from someone who didn't return the Apple Vision Pro. Is it any better? Well, let's talk about it. Okay, so to understand where it is today, we have to do a little bit of a retrospective. First, why did everyone find this thing so cool in the first place? Well, with every Apple product launch, there's some slick marketing and hype. Maybe a little too much hype for a product that seemed to have been rumored forever. VR and AR experiences are some of the coolest things that you can try for the first time. For about 15 minutes until the novelty wears off and you look yourself in the mirror and realize just how you look. But honestly, the Apple Vision Pro is definitely a vision or glimpse into the future of what good AR and VR could be. The UI and resolution is crisp, and using just your hands instead of a physical controller genuinely does feel like the future. You can enjoy working in 3D spaces with windows and displays everywhere, or you can immerse yourself in a film with a giant display right in front of you. And while there are limited games, the games that do work, you can run them pretty decently. It's absolutely insane that all of this could be done with today's tech in a device like this, and for that purpose, it just can't be beat. But there's also many different reasons why it didn't stick for regular people. First is price and the value that you get for that price. What it does better than just owning a regular Mac and a different VR headset is outshined by just how much cheaper those things are at doing those tasks. And where the Vision Pro excels and does things better than any computer or VR headset can even do, doesn't justify paying that crazy price tag. Don't get me wrong, it's fantastic and impressive every single time you put the Vision Pro on. Nothing comes close to it, but it's an experience that I don't think everyone deems is worth $3.5 grand. There hasn't been a single discount since it's been released either. Then there's also how difficult it is to show people visually how the Apple Vision Pro works. Apple initially released it in the US before expanding to a couple more countries. But at least here in the US, the only retailer that sells the Apple Vision Pro is Apple. So it's not easy to just walk into your local electronics store and try it out and see if you like it. You have to go specifically to an Apple store, which there are way less of, just to try it or order it online. And I don't know about you, if I don't know much about a product, I'm not quick to drop $3.5 grand on something unseen. And it doesn't help that even in YouTube videos, it's a pain trying to show what using the experience is like on camera, since you typically just get a standard 4K 2D video of how it looks versus the entire immersive view that you would with the headset on. Like, this video doesn't do it justice. Then there's the device itself. It's nice to touch in the hand, has lots of glass and metal. It's very premiumly built, but it's heavy. It's hard to wear comfortably for long periods of time and takes up a ton of space in your backpack. So it's super inconvenient to use when traveling, making that private movie viewing experience a huge hassle to lug around with you through airports. I mean, you can fit like 3 pairs of clothes in the space that a Vision Pro takes up in a bag. Some people have issues with the look, but honestly, I don't think that's a major issue at all. I mean, they are a bit strange, but everyone made fun of AirPods when they came out, calling them toothbrush heads. But after a few years, they were everywhere. Also, because these things are so expensive and so few people have them, using them is a very lonely and isolating experience, both as an owner and the fact that when you're using it, it feels disconnected from the physical world with very few ways to share what you're experiencing and in full immersion. And lastly, the biggest issue with the Vision Pro at release was that the app library and features were just not enticing. There just weren't that many apps made specifically for the Vision Pro. I mean, it did have iPad app support, but that was also pretty limited. But at launch, the main issues were the high price tag, the barrier to actually use it in action or try it, the lack of great apps and software, and the overall comfort of the device, which all led to an impressive device that doesn't feel ready for mass appeal. But okay, Jimmy, that was all last year at release. A lot of things can change in 365 days. But does it change whether anyone should get an Apple Vision Pro today? Well, first, the device itself is a lot better. Apple has dropped new software updates that probably should have been there from the beginning. like more screen real estate when you mirror your Mac display, new gesture controls that make it easier to access everything from your fingertips instead of looking up to pull in the control center, and finally, a better guest mode that saves the previous guest so that they don't have to go through the annoying setup. And the OS itself does feel a bit more stable than it did at launch. All these software tweaks are nice additions and make the Vision Pro feel more complete and cohesive within the Apple ecosystem. But again, it feels like these features should have been here in the first place. But it still does make the Vision Pro nicer to use, especially the giant ultra-wide Mac Virtual Display. It just came way too late. I find that a good informal health indicator of how popular a tech product is and how people use their device is the third-party accessory markets for it. All big electronic purchases, whether that's a laptop, tablet, smartphone, game console, or even a camera, have accessories. And you know, once you get your shiny new electronics, you're already planning some accessory purchases for it. So just a quick glance on Apple's website and Amazon shows you two things. One, how few accessories there are for the Vision Pro, and two, how few people are actually buying these accessories. It doesn't seem like the Apple Vision Pro is all that popular, at least from an accessory standpoint, and even when looking at Google Trends for the Apple Vision Pro, it seems like the overall hype for this device is just straight up dead. So while the software is a lot better a year later, the accessories market for the Vision Pro and how many people actually have purchased this Vision Pro seems tiny, especially by Apple product standards. So the Apple Vision Pro has gotten better over the last year, even if sales are sluggish. But they don't live in a vacuum. There are other companies that are working on better and better headsets as well. Samsung has their Project Muon headset that looks a little too similar to the Apple Vision Pro. It could potentially be really interesting and might be a solid alternative. Or you could look at what's available on the market today, like Meta's Quest 3S, which is already a compelling headset, which by the way, this thing costs 10 times less than the Apple Vision Pro. One thing I want to make 100% clear is that this thing is not a competitor to the Vision Pro. So the comparisons are a little unfair there if you're comparing what type of things you can accomplish with both devices. But what this does do is give us an idea of how cheap VR and AR headsets can get, as well as how good they can be at this price point, what regular everyday people can afford. The Vision Pro, like inside, is technically so impressive. It's got plenty of power thanks to that M2 chip, and the displays are beautiful. It just doesn't have enough going for it to justify that large price tag. While the Meta Quest 3S, nothing about this device screams premium, but it's comfortable to wear, has the option to use controllers or finger gestures to navigate the device, and it's cheap. Okay, I hate making up random numbers to describe my personal experience, but the Vision Pro experience feels about 3 times better than the Meta Quest 3S. Now, does it justify it being 10 times more expensive for that 3 times better experience? No, but that's kind of like comparing a $300 TV you see in a store to a $3,000 premium OLED TV. They both do the job, but the comparisons just aren't fair. Could you argue that a fancy, money-shredding OLED TV does the job 10 times better than that budget brand? No, but it's the latest and greatest flagship, and you're paying a premium to be cutting edge. That's kind of what the Vision Pro is right now. But what will be interesting, at least to me, is out of these two, or any other competitors that enter the market, who can reach that sweet, sweet middle ground first, where you get nice premium features that you see in the Vision Pro today at a reasonable price. That's when I think these VR, AR, XR, whatever you want to call them, spatial computing devices will be really interesting. All right, so what's next for the Apple Vision Pro? Well, I think that Apple is just going to look forward and try this path a little bit longer. There's rumors that production ended for the Vision Pro in late 2024 due to lower than expected sales. But that's not the end into Apple's attempt into these type of devices, because Apple is rumored to release a more budget-friendly version sometime in the near future. So in the meantime, they really should be continuing to flesh out the features of the Vision Pro so that when this new cheaper model releases, it'll hit the ground running with a more thought out OS. Hopefully get some great apps, because it's still pretty barren and is mostly suited for consuming streamed content. There's also rumors that Apple and Sony are working together to support PlayStation VR 2 controllers with the Vision Pro, which could help it function better as both a gaming machine, because the M series processors in there are already pretty good at that, and to just navigate with VR controls, because doing everything with hand gestures for an extended period of time kind of just drains you. So was the hype around the Apple Vision Pro unwarranted? Sorta. There's a reason why people were so interested in this product. It was, and still is, a really interesting piece of technology. Like, this proves that it can be done with the tech that we have today, but it also shows us how far away we are from this actually being useful to the average person. It'll be years before this type of technology becomes small enough, comfortable enough, powerful enough, and cheap enough to actually be accessible to everyone. Because let's be real, if this thing was like $1,500, comfortable to wear for long periods of time, less bulky, and had a much more robust app ecosystem, this thing would sell a lot better. But until then, headsets like the Apple Vision Pro will probably remain pretty niche for a while. But hopefully a device like this spurred up the competition a bit so that we as consumers get way more competition. Maybe Meta will make a successor to the MetaQuest Pro, or Samsung makes a retail version of their Project Muhan headset. Who knows? Either way, this isn't the first time that we've seen an AR, VR, XR spatial computing headset, and it won't be the last time we see something like this either. So for me personally, today in February 2025, would I rather own this or save $3,500? I'd rather save $3,500. Anyway, what do you personally think? Did you consider the Apple Vision Pro? Has your opinion on it changed? Honestly, I had some hope for it, but it feels largely the same a year later. Despite some of the main software updates, the app ecosystem just still isn't there for me. Leave all that down in the comment section below, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.